So, hi everybody. My name is Greta Hagan. I'm the Deputy Director here at Jane Doe Inc., the Massachusetts Coalition Against Sexual Assault and Domestic Violence. And it's nice to see some familiar names popping into the Zoom room and some new friends. So, welcome. We are so thrilled to partner again. This is our second iteration of this training. We're so excited to welcome Alicine Francois and Kathleen Gilleo from Eversource to talk about our electric bills. This winter was hard for, I think, most of us and a lot of our clients. And so it's going to be great to hear from um, folks about some opportunities that are available that we can share out to clients. And maybe we can learn some things ourselves as well. So we're gonna a little couple of ground rules. We have interpretation team here. We are recording. I think what we're gonna do is go through the presentation and then we'll have time at the end for Q&A. Alicine and Kathleen have built in time for that and welcome that. So I think pop questions in the chat if you wish. And if there's anything that's like clarifying, like we can't go forward without stopping and addressing it, I will interrupt. But otherwise, we'll just go through the presentation and then we'll start a little conversation towards the end. And we'll go from there. Does that sound good? Shall I turn it over to you, Alicine?
That's great.
Awesome. Okay.
Okay. I just want to get a thumbs up, somebody, if everybody can hear me clearly. Everybody hear me clearly? Great. Thank you very much. So good afternoon, everybody. When I came on the meeting, Greta said, "Oh, at least it's clear outside," which it is, but I understand it's still pretty nippy out there. So she did start off by mentioning that had a pretty cold winter this year, and I heard from somebody else also that this was our coldest winter in probably close to 6 or 7 years. So it makes sense that folks are having having affordability issues with the bills because we're turning up our heats a lot higher this year than we have in prior years because we've been spoiled. We've had some pretty good warm weather. But anyway, my name is Alicine Francois, and thanks again to Greta for inviting myself and my colleague Kathleen Gilleo here to talk to you today. And what we want to do is we want to just share information about the electric bill and talk to you about some of the programs that we have to help. Just before we get started, this is an effort that Eversource is undertaking across Massachusetts and also New Hampshire. We provide service in 3 states, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and New Hampshire, but my jurisdiction is Mass and New Hampshire. And so because we've had a lot of feedback from our customers with concerns about their rising bills, we and despite our efforts in terms of putting information in bill inserts and getting information out to our customers about resources to help them manage their bills, we still hear that customers still don't understand or don't know that there's resources available. So this is why we are making a concerted effort this year to get out in community and bring this information to our customers. So again, I wanted to thank Greta when she mentioned that, about the reach that Jane Doe has, not only with staff, but also with the clients. We figured that this was a perfect opportunity, and we will be asking for your help to identify areas and opportunities for us to further expand this information and get it into the hands of those customers that need it. So today, what I'm going to trying to advance my slide deck here. Okay. Okay, there you go. Agenda. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to explain the different components of your bill. There are some supplier options that customers need to know about. So I'll review that. We'll do a quick energy efficiency overview, and then I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Kathleen to walk you through the programs that we have available to help customers. Then we'll talk to you about protections from scams. There's a lot of scams out there, and we want to make sure that customers are aware of what they are. And then we'll open it up for question and answer. So understanding your bill. So how do I read my bill? This is a sample bill, and what we always do is you will always see on the first page of your bill the total amount due. And this total amount due is going to be a component of two portions. It's going to be your supply rate, and it's going to be your delivery rate, or your delivery charge, not rate. And so that supply rate, that supply charge is going to be your usage times the supply rate, and then the delivery charge is going to be your delivery rate times your usage. So you're going to hear me use the word usage because usage is to be very important. It's a common denominator. The amount of electricity you use is always going to impact your total bill. And then we have on my left, but your right will be your electric usage. And so on your bill, you're going to be able to see monthly basis what your monthly usage is going to be. So that graph will graphically give you a visual of what your usage looks like. And it makes sense that, particularly if you live in New England, the January, February, March, you're going to see the trends a little bit higher because those are the colder months, and that's where customers typically raise their thermostats to stay warm. And also in the summer, thermostats go up, they go down, air conditioning. And then where you see the electric usage summary, that's going to give you your average usage for the month. So and see where it's got a down arrow. So for this particular bill, in that particular month, the usage went down slightly. And one of the things I also want to share is on your electric bill for that monthly usage history, if you see a straight line right across, there's an issue. Customers do not use the exact same amount of electricity every single month. So if there's a straight line, if there's a straight bar across, you need to reach out to us. It could be a malfunction with your meter or some issue where the meter is not being read properly. So, that's one thing I wanted to also point out. Underneath where you see bar 1 with the number 1, right under those 2 bars, you're going to see your electric supplier is. That's also very important because a lot of customers think that they have Eversource for their electric supplier, and they don't. So I'm going to encourage every single person, when you go home tonight, get your bill, look at your bill, and look and see who your electric supplier is. That electric supplier should be who you have selected for your supplier. And I'll talk to you a little bit later on in this presentation about how some customers inadvertently choose another supplier and don't pay attention to that, and they think they have Eversource as a supplier, and they don't. And then we have this news for you section here. And we have received feedback from customers over the years, over the last couple of years, that if this is an important section, because typically what we do is if there's important information that customers need to have, we put it in this section. And what happens is, for the most part, a customer opens their bill and the first thing that they focus on is, how much do I owe? And they typically do not focus in on this news to you. This news to you section will give you a heads up if there's going to be a rate change or if there's some important information that you need to know. So the feedback that we've received from customers is, if that's important, you need to highlight it, you need to put it in red, so that customers know that it's important. We also, just so you know, we are going through a bill redesign for the electric bill, and some of the feedback that we've received from our customers will be incorporated into this new bill redesign. So this new news to you section is one area. And as we go through today's presentation, I'll also highlight the other areas that we've received some feedback where we will be incorporated into the new bill design. Page 2 of your bill, you're going to always see the amount due brought forward. And then you will see, how much electricity you've used, which is over here on where you see number 2. This is going to show you the exact amount of kilowatt hours, and the kilowatt hours are the units of electricity that you use. You'll see what your usage is for each month. And then where you see item number 3, that's going to be the itemization of your supplier charge and also your delivery charges. And you'll see here that the delivery charges, there are more items under the delivery charge, and we're going to get into those, a discussion about that in the next slide. But this slide will shows the different itemization. And then you have some information in the bottom of how to contact us. I do want to point out on the information here on blue, we are an energy delivery company. We do not generate power. Years ago when I joined the company, we were a electric generating company. We are an energy delivery company, and we'll talk a little bit about how we get the energy to you. So want to talk about the supply charge, and it's circled here. And typically your supply charge is going to be lower than your delivery charge. The supply charge is the cost of electricity that we get from our third party supply market, and we source electricity from different third party suppliers. What we do not make a profit from what we purchase from what the cost of the supply, the electricity. So whatever we pay for the electricity is what we pass on to the customer. And our rates typically change twice a year, in February and in August. But there's an important piece that you need to know. We cannot just arbitrarily change your rates. Even though it says our rates typically change in February and August, if we go in the market, when we go out to purchase electricity and the rates have gone up, exorbitantly, we still need to go through the Massachusetts Department of Public Utilities. That's the regulatory body that oversees all of the utilities that do business in Massachusetts. And none of these utilities can make any adjustments to any charges to customers unless they ask and receive permission from the Massachusetts Department of Public Utilities. And so although the rates typically adjust twice a year, we need to go in and ask permission. And if the Mass Department of Public Utilities says no, we cannot adjust your rates. If they say yes, that's where we're gonna, they will tell us how much, we can adjust, and typically it's incremental. And we will put information in that news to you section, and we'll notify customers through bill inserts prior to adjusting any rates. Here you're going to see again, I did mention usage. Your usage is measured in kilowatt hours, and that's the amount of electricity that you use. And your usage is always going to be times your supply rate, and that's what your supply charge is going to be. So let me, before I get into delivery, I want to talk about the third-party suppliers. Remember, when I first opened up, I said, make sure you pay attention and see who your third-party supplier is, or who your supplier is. Customers do have choice, and in terms of who supplies their electricity, if you're in the city of Boston, City of Boston has a municipal aggregation program, and as do certain towns and cities throughout Massachusetts. And so customers can also go on EnergySwitchMA.gov, and they can that website will provide all of the suppliers suppliers able to do business in Massachusetts, and customers can go on and they can compare rates and they can choose to switch to an energy supplier of their choice. So certainly, if it is if a customer chooses to pick an energy supplier and they're happy with them, that's great. The reason why I mentioned, and we'll talk about scams a little bit later, but there's a lot of trained salespeople who approach customers, whether it could be at a BJ's or sometimes in a Walgreens or in a grocery store. Sometimes they knock at your door, sometimes they call you on the phone, and they will ask to either see your electric bill or ask, who do you have for energy supplier? And sometimes customers provide information to these third-party suppliers, unknowingly, their supplier is switched. And the issue with that sometimes is when they inadvertently switch, there are fees to come out of that contract, because typically what happens is they get locked into a contract, and sometimes they sign and sometimes they don't sign. And what happens is they get coerced into or encouraged to switch at a lower rate, and then 6 months later the rate goes up, and then another 6 months the rate goes up again, and before they know it, they are paying a much higher rate than they would have if they had either stayed with their town or city aggregation program or with Eversource. So although customers do have choice, I just want to make sure that residents are making educated choices about who they select for their suppliers. So I just did talk about the municipal aggregation program, and I will provide a copy of this slide to Greta to share. But again, even if you decide to go with a third-party supplier, you will always still get a bill from Eversource, because these third-party suppliers need to be able to use our lines to be able to get their energy to your homes. And so you will always receive a bill from Eversource. So again, take a look at your bill and it will clearly tell you who your energy supplier is. So now let's talk about delivery. So your delivery is broken down into three categories. It's usually a transmission charge, there's a distribution, operations, and services charge, and then there's a public policy charge. And again, your delivery charge is going to be what your delivery rate is. Your electric rate is times your usage. So always, that usage is always going to be important. So now the delivery charge, like I mentioned, the maintenance and there's maintenance and infrastructure related charges that go into the delivery charge. So when we go out into the market to purchase electricity from these third parties, we have what we call a superhighway. I call it the transmission superhighway. So the transmission lines are pretty high up. If you went outside and look up, you probably won't see a transition line, because those transmission lines carry electricity at a very high voltage, and they're usually transmitted through right-of-ways, and they will transmit electricity all over the country. So whether we get them from Canada or from Kentucky or parts of Pennsylvania or certain areas around the region, that electricity needs to be transported from wherever we purchase it to the local area. And then it is stepped down into a distribution level, and that distribution level is where it is transmitted to your homes and to your businesses. So there's a cost to do that. And also, any investments that we make in our grid, and that's to make sure that we are maintaining. Our goal is to make sure that every customer receives reliable and safe power. And so there's a cost to make sure that our infrastructure is up to par so that we can, when you turn your light switch on or if you plug in an appliance or that you receive that energy that you're expecting. And then also in the main infrastructure related charges are the salaries of the line workers who are maintain that infrastructure. And of course, this year we had quite a few storms. And if you were on the Cape, you know that this year we had the last storm that we had, it pretty much wiped the Cape out. And we had, our line force that worked around the clock to restore power. Those salaries and come out of the maintenance and infrastructure related charges. And then we have the customer charge, which is a flat rate. Everybody gets charged that same customer rate, and that also covers the our customer service and our billing staff that are the administrative arm to maintaining our customer service for our customers. And then there's a public benefits related charge, and this is the area where we have received quite a bit of feedback from customers around, so we embedded into this charge is financial assistance that we have for residential customers. There's an offset there, and then the energy efficiency. So if you are familiar with Mass Save, which is that arm where we've got solar, electricity, electric vehicle incentives. We have rebates. There's also programs where customers can get audits, and there are things like insulation and all of those good things to help you manage your usage is wrapped up into the public benefits charges. I do also want to say, because we know affordability is a big issue, that right now Massachusetts Department of Public Utilities has an affordability docket open, and every customer, a resident is welcome to listen and participate in those proceedings, and you can provide feedback on where, any feedback that you have or concerns you have around affordability. So, I'll just say in Massachusetts that we are, the state is very engaged in trying to identify ways to manage the affordability concern of our customers. And it's not one issue. It's not an issue that that lives or lays with the utilities or with the Mass Department of Public Utilities or with businesses. Everybody is putting their heads together to try to come up with solutions to this affordability concern that our customers have. So stay tuned. Tap into the Mass Department of Public Utilities. There's information on there. You can get an update on what's going on with that affordability docket. So now let's just do a quick energy efficiency overview. Energy efficiency is all about energy savings, and it's there to provide value for our customers, to save energy, lower costs, and improve comfort, to support our reliable energy system, and to help with our climate goals. So one of the easiest and the first things that you can do as a resident, whether you're a homeowner or not, I know sometimes if you are a renter, you can still take advantage of these energy efficiency programs. However, you do need to engage your landlord and get permission if you're going to look to make any changes in the home. You do have to get your landlord's permission. But one of the easiest things that you can do is, weatherization. We live in Massachusetts, and particularly if you're in the Northeast or whether you're on the Cape, our housing stock is a lot older than housing stock in different areas of the country. And so, as you can imagine, and we're also in one of the coldest regions if you're in the Northeast. So that means that, that combination of older housing stock plus we're in the colder areas, if we don't have good weatherization, We tend to lose energy through our windows, through our roofs. Um, and so an energy audit is something that there's a no cost to do that. And if you go through Mass Save and you can request an energy audit, and um, they will come out and they will do a full assessment and give you a report that will show areas that you can address to conserve to weatherize your home and conserve energy. Some of the rebates that they have are that it's income based, and there are so many programs where customers can get up sometimes with 0% financing if they need to finance, and sometimes some of these programs are free to customers. So we do want to encourage you to take advantage of the programs that are available through Mass Save. We are all paying for it. It's already incorporated into our bill, so take advantage of them. So typically when I'm doing an in-person event, there's a lot of customers that have really good ideas of what they're doing to conserve energy. But there's some things here that are listed, and you can set your thermostat below 68 in the winter. And I know this winter, none of us did that because it was so cold. And in the summertime, you don't need to put your AC as high or as low. Um, so that's one way that you can conserve energy and save on your usage. And then, the Energy Star certified LED bulbs. When we used to come out and do the home assessments, they used to give them out free. But now they have come down pretty reasonably, and you can go into BJ's or you can go into Walgreens or Costco's, and these Energy Star LED bulbs are very cheap at this point. We also talk about making sure that you use your drapes in the summertime. I mean, in the daytime, open them up to get light in, so you don't have to turn on your lights, and then keep them closed during sometimes in the evening to keep your heat in. And there is something, and then washing in cold water and making sure that your furnace filters are changed. But there is something you'll see here where it says stop phantom power, and I just want to mention this. Um, a lot of us have a lot of devices, or if you have kids in the home, teenagers in the home, they've got a million devices that they're using all at once. I'm not saying turn off your stove or unplug your stove or your refrigerator, those major appliances that you need. But for those smaller devices, for those smaller appliances, when you're not using them, unplug them, because when they stay in, they are still pulling, however, albeit very small, they are still pulling small levels of electricity. So that's where you say that phantom power. There is such a thing as that you are using electricity, even with sometimes kids keep their phones charged. The phone's already fully charged and it's still plugged in. So I'm encouraging you, walk around your homes, and those appliances, those devices that you don't use all the time, unplug them, because believe it or not, you can save some usage there. So now we are here at the programs to help. And Kathy, if you are ready, I will turn it over to you to explain the programs to help.
I'm definitely ready. Thank you. Hi, guys. Um, just gonna take off this because it's hot for me. So the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is we do have assistance programs and payment plans and all that. But the most important thing that I want to talk to you is about the discount rate. Um, just to give you an overview,
You're talking about the discount.
yes, it's not there. I'm surprised it's not on this presentation, but it doesn't matter because it has everything to do with this. Yeah, the discount. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So just to give you an overview, Massachusetts residential gas and electric customers who receive state benefits or whose income is at or below 60%, they can receive a discount rate. It's a huge savings. For instance, for electric, It's 42%, and for gas, it's 25% off the total bill. So that's huge. But what happens is it opens up other things, such as a forgiveness program, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Some people don't even realize they're eligible for the discount rate. For instance, this is a little chart here, but it goes up every year. But just say four people in the household makes less than 99,573, they're eligible for the discount rate. So they should be receiving some type of benefit. It's That's a level that fuel assistance uses. So some people don't even want to apply for fuel, but they should be because they've been paying their taxes. And they've been paying, like Alicine said, in all the programs you pay for it. So you should be receiving the benefit. Um, Easier ways to get on it is if a WIC, um, Mass Health. Um, one thing that used to be is school lunch, but now that in Mass, most of the places have free or reduced school lunch. So you wouldn't get on it that way, but there's other ways to get on it. There's veterans benefits, supplemental social security. That's another way to get on it. So what's the next slide? Okay, okay. Now, one thing is we have protections. We're just getting out of winter protection. Winter protection is from November 15th to March 15th, but we always go to April 1st. The DPU always asks us, all utilities in Mass to do that. But hardship customers do not get shut off during the winter, meaning that you have to declare that you're hardship. You can self-declare online. You can tell the company, all the companies in Mass, that you've experienced a financial hardship, but it's not the same as getting on the discount rate. The discount rate, you really do need a means tested benefit. It just protects you from not getting shut off in the winter. So that's one protection. We also have protections for medical. Now, medical protections, um, this a couple of protections, medical, infant, and elderly, and then winter, which kind of I just talked about. All protections except for this elderly protection, which I will talk about, requires financial hardship, meaning if you're already on the discount rate, you're already considered financial hardship. So you just have to apply for the protection. If you're not on the discount rate, you can self-declare for financial hardship. You can self-declare, but ultimately you really want to be on the discount rate because you don't get the discount. You can self-declare for protection, but it's not the same. Um, Medical protection is when someone in the household has a serious or chronic illness and a financial hardship, you'll need a doctor's letter. Um, that means if it's a serious illness, it's a 3 months protection. That's like if you break your leg and you can't work. A chronic illness is like just like say you have chronic asthma and that protection is longer. It's 6 month protection. It's something that you have that's not really going to go away in any time soon. There's an infant protection is when a child is living in the household under the age of 1. Um, Eversource or any utilities, just not Eversource, but will require a birth certificate or like a mother's letter. And again, you have to have financial hardship, but there is a protection for that. And then elderly protection. This is important. This is the only protection that does not require financial hardship, so you can make whatever money, you make. Elderly protection is important because say a senior is living alone and no one's watching their bills and they get sick, God forbid, and they're in the hospital. We do not shut off customers over 65. It has nothing to do with income, and that's a very, very important protection. We also offer, now, I was going to talk about the forgiveness program. You have to be on the discount rate for the forgiveness program, but it is the best program that we offer. So how it works is it helps eliminate the outstanding bills. Like this says, a portion of the past due balance is eliminated on a monthly basis. How they qualify? This is how they qualify. You have to have an active residential gas or electric account. It can't be shut off. You have to be, you have to be active. Customers have to owe more than 300 in arrears, more than 60 days late. And you have to be enrolled on the discount rate. That's why I encourage people to be enrolled. The customers actually have to do afford their average bill, whatever that bill is. Okay. So if their bill's $100 going forward every month, they have to afford that. If it's 150, they have to afford that. If it's 50, that's better, right? But whatever that average is, that monthly is determined based on they look at like your past 12-month usage and that's how they average your bill. It's like a budget. It could increase or decrease depending on usage, but every time that customer makes one-time monthly payments, the account is credited based on what they owe. So, for instance, 1/12 of their arrears is paid every month. So whatever they pay. So say they're, like I said, just to give you an example. Okay, we we even forgive up to $12,000 annually. So just say a customer's average bill is 1,000 and they owe, I know this is hard for a lot of people to believe, but it happens for whatever reason, probably medical or issues. They owe $12,000, okay? Every time they pay $100, like if that's their average bill, they have to be able to afford their average, whatever that happens to be. Just say for easy math, they pay 100, we forgive $1,000 a month. So they pay 100, we forgive 1,000. Next month, in 12 months, $12,000 could be forgiven, up to 12,000. It's it's just a really great, it's like a fresh start. And then if they're not on the discount rate, customers, regardless of income, have always offered payment plans. And our company has been doing better and better about offering flexible ones that like people can pay. If you're not on the discount rate, then the payment plan is probably the best and they will offer those.
Okay, let me just go for it. Okay.
Now, one thing I want to talk to you about is fuel assistance. Even if you're on the discount rate, fuel assistance is so important. Um, just because you're on the discount, you might be on our discount rate or National Grids or whoever because of like maybe Mass Health. But if you're on from Mass Health, you want to utilize fuel assistance too because you pay for this all your lives anyways. Anyway, fuel assistance is the home energy, it's heat. If you're on the discount rate, not only you already get the discount, the 42% of the 25%, right? But fuel will actually give you money towards your heating bills. And a lot of people don't realize why they need to apply. They say, "Oh, well, I'm already on the discount rate." Fuel is such a good, the state gives us a certain amount of money, and if we don't use it, then we lose it. And you know how cold it is up here. So that's one thing. So that's fuel assessments you have to apply between November 1st and April 30th. So if any of your clients haven't applied, please, even if they get an appointment before April 30th, they'll still work after that, but you have to get in before April 30th, or you're going to have to wait till November 1st of next year. The Good Neighbor Energy Fund is a little, that's like, they provide a grant one time per year for customers. It's really just a bit above the eligibility for fuel. So this is really 60 to 80% of the median income for the state. But it's always around like it's a one-time grant every year, and I think it's right now it's 400, but it's around 400 every year. So that's another. If you think somebody's a little over income but really needs some help, that would be a great resource as well. And then I know Alicine already kind of talked about energy efficiency programs. So,
Yeah.
and I don't know if she wants me to go into protecting from scams because that's important too. Alicine, if you want to take that over, or I could, I don't care. Oh
Yeah.
no, the heat
Oh,
rate you do. But I love
I'm
protect.
not sure if anybody, so I'm not sure if anybody has a heat pump. But just wanted to say that there's a lower winter rate that went into effect in November. So if you purchased a heat pump prior to November, you should be able to get this lower winter rate. So if you have a heat pump and you have questions, you can reach out to us. Or you can visit eversource.com/heat pump rate for more information. We just wanted to put it in here. Not a lot of people have them, but if you do have them and you want additional information, please visit that website. So protecting you from scams, and we can, Kathy, if there's anything that you want to add in that I don't cover, that would
Well,
that
do you
would
want
be
me to do? Oh,
great.
you want to do it? Fine, whatever. Whatever you
Yeah,
want. So, because I
yeah,
love this, both of us like to talk about this because it's very important.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Everybody loves this slide. So I'll start, and then you can add in any other items that I tend to miss, or if I miss anything. So again, scams is a huge topic, and earlier this year, both Eversource and National Grid put out information to all of their customers because we saw an increase in scam activity across the state. Um, so Eversource customers, and I have my badge on. I typically go everywhere with my badge. Eversource customers or employees will always have a picture ID. If we hire contractors to work on our behalf, they will have an ID showing that they are an Eversource contractor. You can always ask anybody that is working in your vicinity, or if they're working on your property, or if they come to your door, ask for a company issued ID, or information that will verify that they're working on our behalf. We have seen customers, there's all kinds of phishing scams out there. Customers receive calls from scammers asking for their accounting information to pay their bills. And, unfortunately, we've had a couple of situations where unsuspecting customers have provided their banking information to these scammers, and their accounts have been wiped out. Sometimes they are calling saying that you've overpaid and give us your billing information so that we can give you a refund. And boom, that once they have your billing information, again, before you know it, they've gone in and they've wiped out your account. And then sometimes customers are calling and are being called, and they're being offered gift cards, to provide information. Maybe it's their account information or different things. And I'll just say, Eversource will never call a customer and ask what your account number is. If you're our customer, we know what account number is. We will never call and demand payments over the phone. We will never just show up to shut your electricity off. Just be careful about giving access to your homes. If a customer is in a space where there's a potential shut off pending, a customer will receive multiple notice before they even attempt to shut off their customers. And so we just want to make sure that we raise that as a caution to our customers. And Kathy, I don't know if you have anything else that you want to add around
no, you
scams.
covered everything. The only thing I'm going to add is just recently, it was weird. I took it to security, and it looked like a customer's real bill with AI. It actually, I couldn't believe it. I've never seen it. This is new. It looked like just like a customer's bill, but it had our old, we used to have a Dallas, Texas, where you pay it. It had still that on it, and I couldn't believe it. It had a wrong. We have you pay our bills in Boston now, so. But I'll tell you right now, I've never seen anything like it. It was actually a fraud. That's the first time I've ever seen that. So, um, and it looked just like our customers' bills, and that's very sad. So they've never seen anything like it. So
Yeah. So one of the things that we do say is, if you receive a call, hang up and you call back. That way you're in control of the call. You know who you have dialed. If someone comes to your home, you do not need, and they are not presenting as a verified Eversource consultant or employee, close your door. You're under no obligation to give any information to anybody, whether it's in a store, anybody that approaches you about your account information. So, and I will also say that what the target audience that we have seen are elders and people whose English is not their first language. So those are the targets that we've seen. So just want to make sure that you're aware of that. And again, if you suspect that you've done something or you've inadvertently given someone access, reach out to us right away so that we can see if we can help you rectify the issue. The only other thing I wanted to say about the bills is, some customers, if they become overwhelmed with the amount that they owe, they tend to just ignore the bill. And then they ignore it and they ignore it. And then next thing you know, it's $3,000, $4,000. What we encourage you to do is the moment you realize that you have an issue paying your bill, call us. We can help put you on some kind of a program or some kind of a budget billing, because some customers we recognize are on fixed incomes, and if that bill goes into a space where it is beyond their income level, because of course you can't just pay your electric bill and not eat or not pay for your medication or what have you, reach out to us. We can put you on some kind of flexible payment plan. Just don't ignore the bill until it gets to the point where it really is out of control. All right, so we do have a couple of minutes for questions, and so I'll stop sharing my screen.
And I saw some in the chat. Now, Jennifer asked about, I had a client use their DTA relocation benefit for Eversource. This DTA states that they sent a payment. Jennifer, if you want to email me, I have to look into that. I would not know how. I have to I need the customer's account information, and I will definitely look into that for you. So,
Jennifer, I will connect you.
yeah, definitely, because that's something I could help with. I could be the go-between. I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to ask Alicine a question, but right now, is a heat pad a mini split? Now, Alicine, I get confused about this stuff because that's kind of my thing. That was you.
So the mini splits, so it's the heat portion, right? I have a mini split and I'm not eligible for the heat pump rate. It's a unit that pumps out heat. I don't believe the mini splits fall into that category. But
I have Mass Save and I get the mini split rate or the heat pump rate, but I do have them for heating and cooling, but through Eversource.
Okay, so there's your answer. So I would.
But they're new. They're like installed through Mass Save, and then so I don't know if there are some restrictions on like how they were installed by a verified vendor and all that. So there could be some other things there too.
Yeah, but it doesn't hurt to reach out and inquire because they'll want to know the date, who put it in, etc. And if you're eligible for that rate, they definitely will give it to you.
Now, there's another question that I definitely can answer. Is your discount rate at 40% the same as National Grid? Okay, our discount rate for electric is 42 and the gas is 25. National Grid used to be 32% and then 25 again for the gas. National Grid just went through it's a tiered discount rate. We're looking into that too. So it goes up to 70% and the lowest income customers get the 70 and then it goes down to I think 25. So their rate structure is different now. We're looking into that. But right now our rate is 42% if off electric. They haven't changed the structure of their gas. It's still 25 and 25. All the gas companies in Mass right now still has 25% discount. The electric they all differ. Not sure if this is answered, but it's a delivery charge is more usage charge. How can it be lowered? Okay. I can't, would we need to change suppliers? So can you answer that, Alicine? Because it's not sure if this was
answered. So what does it say? If the supplier charge is higher?
It says, not sure if this is answered, but if delivery charge is more than usage charge, how can this be lowered? Would we need to change a supplier?
Yeah. So the delivery charge is the delivery charge. The supplier charge is where there may be options. So remember I mentioned Eversource has a rate These third-party suppliers have a rate. If you are in a city or a town that has their own community aggregation program, which means they do the same thing that we do. They go out into the market and they purchase electricity on behalf of their town or city. Their rate might be different. That's one area where you can um, save money if you are on a more competitive supplier rate. A lot of the third parties, if it's not your town program, or if it's not Eversource's program, or even the grid's program, some of these third-party suppliers, as I mentioned, they might come in low, but they are on schedules where 6 months they'll go up, another 6 months they'll go up, and before you know it, and I've seen some of their rates. I mean, the difference in their rates are significant. Customers can, save upwards of $400 on their bill a month just by making sure that they have the most competitive rate available. So definitely that's an area where you need to pay attention to.
And Valencia, I thought this was a great question about solar. Oh.
Yeah, I don't know if so when you guys showed the itemized bill, so I've had clients who solar comes and they say, okay, they're gonna offer them all this free stuff, and obviously one would question, why? How am I getting a new roof and 20,000 different things? And they said, oh, look at you, let me see your bill. This little particular part right here, it's automatically there. You don't know that it exists, that it goes into this fund that you have access to. And this is why they're not telling you. And, the man is trying to stick it to you, however way they sell it, right? And I know past employees that's worked for solar companies, it's different. Like one says yes, another person says no. So I'd love to hear you guys' take on that.
Yeah, and I would say customers need to do their homework, right?
Okay.
And so, yes, we are paying into that public policy, that portion of the bill that I mentioned that covers all of these green energy solutions. And my opinion, my opinion only, we are going to probably have to leverage that to manage bills because, solar and, some of these green electric vehicles and all that stuff, they're going to help with emissions and green energy going forward. However, so back to the solar question. It's a tricky and it's an individual decision. So yes, we do. There's a portion that helps to support, some of these developers, solar developers who are out there, but so the technology itself is something that we when I say we, utilities in general support. So you may see solar farms out there. You may see, there's a portion that helps to fund some of these developers. However, we don't control what these developers their programs, right? We can't say to them because you are tapping into this resource that's available to all of these green energy consultants. We can't mandate what programs they put out there and what they charge. And so, for solar, right? So a customer can purchase their solar or they can rent their solar. And if you go to developer A, they're going to charge you $100 for your solar panels. You go to developer B, they may charge you another amount for your panels. Some will rent the panels, and again, the charges differ. There is some benefits if you have solar because obviously, during the summer you can earn credits, and then you use those credits when the sun isn't shining. That's the benefit of solar. However, customers need to be educated. Yeah, they're going to sell you that, yeah, we can put that, we can put the panels in for free and, you're not going to see a bill. I'm always cautious, right? And so there's nothing free. So there's some hidden cost somewhere. So I say, do your homework, be educated. There's a lot of customers that have taken advantage of solar, and if a customer does, pretty much what happens is there's a copy of a contract that comes into the company that says the customer has applied solar panels, and so there's a portion of their bill. A portion of their bill is going to be lower, but they are going to have to pay that solar company for either the rentage of those panels, or if they purchase them, a lot of people finance them, so there's a bill that they have to pay to the finance company. So it's not as straightforward as it seems. Rebecca, I would say do your homework. And again, customers have choice, so we're not going to advocate one way or another for, what they do in that area.
I don't think it was, thank you for answering that. I don't think it was necessarily I know you can't speak for another company. It's the itemized list that they draw from to sort of kind of pitch. And I think if a customer is not educated on the intricacies of what their bill is, like you've just broken down supply, delivery, but it's those other things that they use as a launch pad of, you see this thing right here in the bill, this is what it means. This is what this is. Look how they're milking you, or something along those lines.
So that would be like, it comes across on the bill. It comes as net metering credit. But like you said, but the funny thing is, I'll tell you guys, I go to a lot of we don't call it low income, we call it income eligible meetings. I still go to with the National Consumer Law Center and the DPU. I'm involved in those meetings to lower the customers' bills. And I remember Charlie Herrick. I don't know if any of you guys know him, but he just retired, but he's still involved. But anyways, he's a national consumer lawyer, and he goes, he doesn't trust solar if you rent it, and so I never got it. So my son, believe it or not, worked for 2 solar companies and not doing it now. But they said because of my house or whatever, I wouldn't benefit. So I was going to do it because of my son, right? Because I wanted him to get a little credit, right? And I thought that would be great. They said because of where I have too much trees. Well, the funny thing is, he's long moved on from that, but I've had 2 solar companies said, "Oh my God, you're going to save $1 million," and I had an old roof. I don't believe them.
Yeah.
In a bill, it's net metering credit. Okay, so you could see it. Some people work for it, but I think the only way, I remember Charlie Herrick telling me this, and he was he's not even part of our company. He regulates us, by the way. He goes, "I don't trust it unless you own them." That's what he said. He does not.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think people get tied into that.
Yeah.
And
as I mentioned, we are looking to redesign our electric bill, and one of the areas is that that the breakdown of the supply and the delivery charges, to break that down even further. So there's more transparency, and there's more explanations, definitions, and glossary around what those terms mean. So
Valencia or Rebecca, if you have one person that, now I will never explain solar to, but I have somebody that could. If you have one individual customer that you want me to help you with, I would absolutely help you with. I'd have to have somebody else, because I'm not good at solar, because I don't have it enough. I work with most of my customers really don't have it or would never buy it. You know what I mean?
Got it.
I could absolutely have either one of you.
Thank you. And I think it's sometimes what I see is the price gouging on the kilowatt.
Yeah.
If like, let's just say the bill looked like it was 35, right? And not knowing that they charge extra per kilowatt. It gets confusing if you take off all
but
the
if
other
you want me
equipment
to
stuff.
have, I would be happy to help.
Thank you.
I would be happy to help. No, I'm not good at it, but I have somebody that will help me. Like,
You're probably you're more well versed than me than I would ever be. So I appreciate that.
It's a good spot for a plug too. So I will send out the recording, some of the slides, and a survey that our Eversource friends would love for you to take a minute or two to fill out. I'll
Sure.
send out those things and connect you all with Alicine and Kathleen to follow up about those individual questions that you have.
Sure.
Um, Most of the questions should go to Kathleen, right? I think, but
Copy both of us.
to
Yeah.
No,
both of you.
no,
Okay,
both,
great.
yeah.
And they love to take this show on the road. What they usually do is have kind
We
of a
do.
clinic, right? They're a traveling circus, is in addition to this. And so if you're interested in maybe hosting a clinic with your client, or I see some like regional things happening on this call, like there's a couple Western Mass folks here, or there's like a few different Cambridge-based folks here. So if you wanted to do something more regional and coordinate that with Alicine and Kathleen, that's what they would love to do, is do kind of an in-person presentation, a little bit of a clinic too, and really go through bills with folks. So I
Yeah.
will,
And I'll just say
yeah.
the benefit of us coming in person is if there's an eligible customer, if once we do the in person, a customer can come up to Kathy and Kathy can enroll them right then and there in a discount program or put a protection if they are eligible. So that's the beauty. I mean, it's tough for us to do it online, but if we're in person, she's got her laptop, and once I finish my little spiel, we can have them come up to either her and a colleague, depending on how many people we're expecting. Sometimes we'll have two of them there, and customers can get enrolled right then and there. That's the beauty of it.
And you do community, like let's just say someone wanted to do it at a church or
Absolutely,
something like that.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. A church, a library. We've
Yeah,
gone to
community
the
center or
Boys and
something along
Girls,
those
the
lines.
Ys.
Okay.
Just let us know. We'll come.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it a lot. And
You're
thank you,
welcome.
Greta.
Thank you all
And
for
I
being
also
here.
will say,
Yes.
just staff, and that's why we're doing this with a lot of the staff as well. Staff are customers too. So some of the participants here today may also be eligible for these discounts and these protections. So don't exclude yourself as you're, thinking about how we can get this word out. If you think that you are, you fall within those income guidelines, you're eligible for the discount, you're eligible for the discounts.
Yeah, community
Yeah,
work
that's
doesn't always pay. It
that
pays
is so
That's
true.
right.
it pays in heart, but not necessarily living in Boston.
I'll
So
tell you right now, a lot of staff do not get paid enough. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
so
Yep. And a lot of us are like one medical bill away from then qualifying, right? So, or whatever. So, the margins are tight. So, yes, feel free to connect with them about your own questions, about your mama's questions, about your clients' questions.
exactly. And the only thing I ask guys is if you just don't give my number out to customers directly, you guys all use me, whatever you need. My email's easier because I travel so much. I mean, I was on the road today. I rushed back to do my hair. How does it look?
It looks good.
But anyways, I'm like, oh my God, I have to be. Alicine knows I hate to present. I'm so much better in person. But anyways, um, I would be happy to help any one of you. And if I don't know the answer, I have to get it from somebody. So don't worry about that, So
And we learned about Alicine and Kathy through one of your sibling programs.
thanks.
So we know that that's a real offer because that's how we met.
I was in Rosie's place yesterday. Sweens used to work there. That's how I met her.
So shout out to Sweens, who's now at Casa Mirna, for hooking this up.
I'd love to
Matchmaking.
work when I retire. I'd love to work at Rosie's place, but 2 hours it took me to go to Boston. I'm not doing that every day.
That
So
doesn't leave a lot of time to do your hair.
No, I went to Attleboro today. I was not in Boston. So. But 2 hours it took me, and I thought I left early, So
Oh, traffic. When you can conquer traffic next, Kathy, after you've conquered everyone's bills. So thank you all so much for being here today. I will send out, I know some of you are not coalition members. That's okay. I'm going to send out an email to everyone who's on here today with those materials, another plug for the survey, and make a connection to our friends. And Alicine and Kathy, thank you so much for doing this, not once,
You're
but
welcome.
twice. And we'll probably do it again.
Yeah,
So really
absolutely.
grateful.
thank you
Thank
very
you to our interpretation team. And I hope everyone enjoys the some frolic in the
Even nights that
sunshine.
haven't been out yet.
We get the survey
Gonna run
link
out.
here, or will it be sent via email? Do you have a survey link? I'm just asking.
The survey, I believe, is a form. Do you have
It's
a
a
link
form.
too?
We are in the process of updating it, so it's a paper form. If you can just fill it out and send it
Where would
in,
I
or
get
if you
that?
want to just
I'm gonna send it to you.
Oh, you
Yeah.
are? Okay,
Yeah,
that's what I
I'll
was
send you
getting
a
at. Okay.
a little
All right.
packet of materials out into your
All right.
email.
All right, no problem. Just looking out for
Cool.
it. Thank you, ladies. Have a good evening.
Thank
You
you so
too.
Okay.
Thank
much.
you so much. Take
Thank
care.
Bye.
you.
God bless.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.